Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I'm an author and a book reviewer, and I am here on this rainy day to talk to you about all the books that I have purchased recently. There may be a few of them. I may have been a little bit overexcited in recent times when it comes to book buying, but I will confess everything in this video. I also have a couple of books that have been sent to me from publishers for review, and a couple of books that have been sent because I am the contributor within those titles. I will list all of the books that I'm talking about in the description box down below if you would like to go and find out more. And I think we should probably just dive in. So the first one is this book here, which is a novel called Orpheus Builds a Girl by Heather Parry. Heather runs Extra Teeth Literary Magazine, which is a Scottish Gothic horror journal, which I really like. And this is a novel inspired by Karl Tanzer, I think his name was, who was a German radiologist, I believe, in the late 1800s. But the main character in this novel is called Wilhelm von Thor, and he is reflecting on his life as he's dying, and the love of his life, Lucy, who was a woman he met in a dream before they even met in real life, she died, and then I think he tried to bring her back to life. So this is inspired by lots of real life scientists and people who like to poke around with dead bodies and grave robbers and people like the hunters, all the things in the vein of Frankenstein. And I love anything that discusses that period in history and how bodies were examined and othered, especially when it comes to disability, but in all forms. I really enjoy reading about this period. So I'm looking forward to seeing how she plays around with that. Then this was a recommendation from one of you, which I have already started reading. This was a recommendation from Moz, so thank you. This is an anthology called Body Language, Writers on Identity, Physicality and Making Space for Ourselves, and it's edited by Nicole, Chung and Matt Ortile. This is a series of essays that were published in Catapult Journal over the years, and they've been collated here, and they look at race, queerness, they look at disability, lots of different things, and how an individual's body relates to society or myth or storytelling. And I was recommended this one by Moz because one of the writers in here writes about how she was going through IVF and it was failing, and she decided that she would take up baking, or at least it wasn't really a decision. She threw herself into baking, and then she also got ovarian hyperstimulation syndrome. Just a few too many parallels for me to not want to also read that. So that's why I bought it, but I have been loving all of the essays in here that I have read so far, and I'll talk about it in a wrap up. Then let me quickly, very quickly mention 3 books that I've already read and have spoken about on here. So I bought Kirsty Logan's pamphlet, Close Your Eyes and Come With Me, illustrated by Block Forest. And I talked about this in my Halloween reading vlog, which I'll link in the description box down below. And then in my last video, I talked about these 2. This is Ghost Music by Anne Yu, and this is I Want to Die But I Want to Eat Tteokbokki by Baek, Sehee, translated from the Korean by Anton Her. I read both of these books last week when I was on holiday, and I filmed a reading vlog while I was on holiday. So if you would like lots of autumnal goodness and bookish chat, you can head over to that vlog, which I will also link in the description box down below. Hi, this is Jen from the very near future. I've just finished filming this video and I realized I should have said this at some point at the beginning and I forgot. So this is a very bad inserted cut here just to say that in the next week or so, I'm going to be filming a holiday book gift guide, which I do every year. I'm not going to be holding up books that I have read and loved recently. I'm going to be doing my regular Dear Jen / Santa help. I have this person in my life. They enjoy these things. What book would you recommend? So if you are in need of a book recommendation for somebody in your life, or as a present to yourself, leave a comment down below. Pause this video now, leave a comment down below saying, Dear Jen, my friend loves these things. She would like a book about this kind of thing. What should I get her for the holiday season? And I will answer as many of those book recommendation requests in a video in the next couple of weeks. Okay, that's it. Back to the video. Thanks. Then I decided to pick up this book here. I had been umming and ahhing about it because I didn't love the last book by this author, but I really like the premise of this, and there was something about the writing style in Winter in Sokjo, which is her book of hers that I've read before, that I thought maybe I could like something that she writes next. So I'm going to give this a go, and I'm going to include it in a reading vlog where I read authors whose work I have either not enjoyed once before and want to try again, or maybe I've had a hit and miss relationship with their writing in the past and I want to read a book that's going to be the decider as to whether I pick up more books by them next. So this is Elisa Shua Dusapin's The Pachinko Parlour. This is translated from French by Anissa Abbas-Higgins. This author grew up in France, Switzerland and Korea. Her first book was set in Korea. This one is set in Tokyo, in Japan, and it's set across a summer where a woman called Claire finds herself dividing her time between tutoring 10-year-old Miko in an apartment in an abandoned hotel and lying on the floor of her grandparents' home, daydreaming, playing Tetris, and listening to the sounds from the streets above. I believe that Claire then also thinks about visiting Korea with her grandparents who are from Korea and fled during the Civil War, and it has quotes on the back from Amina Kane, Yan Ji, and also Polly Barton, who I love very much. So hopefully I will love this book too. I then also purchased the most recent issue of Sick magazine. This is a journal that puts together work by chronically ill and disabled writers. I had a piece in, I think it was the last one, I think it was issue 3. I will check that and link it and this in the description box down below. But this includes poetry, creative non-fiction and artwork by disabled and chronically ill writers. I then purchased 2 books from Tilted Axis Press. They are one of my favourite publishers. They publish amazing work in translation. They were set up by translator Deborah Smith in, I want to say 2016 or maybe 2017. I can't quite remember. Anyway, they have an amazing list of books, and these are 2 of their recent ones. So this is Violent Phenomena, 21 Essays on Translation, edited by Kavita, Bhanot and Jeremy Tiang. And I'll summarise a bit on the back. It says, as colonial legacies linger today, what are the ways in which we can disentangle literary translation from imperial violence? 24 writers and translators from across the world share their ideas and practices for disrupting and decolonising translation. I think this sounds amazing. I also bought this poetry collection which says it is sensual and surrealist and queer. This is Unexpected Vanilla by Hyemi, and this is translated from the Korean by Sojay. I also absolutely adore this cover. Then I was sent 2 books, well, one is a magazine and one is an anthology by the publishers of these books because I am in them. So this is Spiritus Mundi, Writings Born from the Occult, and this is a collection of work by authors who were asked if they would take a specific writing technique and use that to create something. So I chose automatic writing and I wrote a non-fiction piece which was talking about using voice to text, which is something that I use a lot in my writing now because of my arthritis and my eyesight, and what that is like and how that affects the way that I write, and even word choices and mishearings and all of that stuff. I had a lot of fun writing that. This is a really beautiful book, and I think would make an amazing, falling over my words today, I think would make an amazing Christmas present. It has these beautiful illustrations at the beginning of each chapter. There's also work in here by Rebecca Tomas, Alice Slater, Stephanie Victoire, Naomi Ishiguro, Nikita Gill, loads of different people. So I will link that in the description box down below. And I also have a new poem in the most recent edition of Cunning Folk magazine, which is the Earth issue. This is looking at folklore and mythology, and it's a beautiful, beautiful journal in full colour. There, give you a little bit of a sneak peek as to what you can, obviously not the contents, but the beauty of it. You can see that it's very, very beautifully produced. I will also link that website in the description box down below too. Last Friday, I did an online poetry event with Oxford Brookes Poetry Centre, and it was so much fun. It was celebrating 100 queer poems, which is an anthology that I am part of, and it was with some other fantastic poets, some of which I already knew and some of which I didn't. I don't think that that event is being posted anywhere as far as I'm aware, like after the fact. I think it was only live, but I did record my segment in advance because I was away on holiday last week and I thought my internet might be bad, so I'd sent in a video in advance, which I have posted over on Patreon, but I will also link the unlisted video in the description box down below for anyone who would like to go and take a look at my segment. Also reading last Friday was this poet here who is Alycia Pirmohamed, and I had not come across her work before apart from within that anthology, and absolutely fell in love with her reading, needed to buy her book immediately. So this is her collection, Another Way to Split Water, and let me read you this sentence from the blurb. It says it's about a woman's body expanding and contracting across the page, fog uncoiling at the fringes of a forest, and water in all its forms. Obviously that just sings to what I enjoy when it comes to themes within poetry. And speaking of themes, I plan to do another reading vlog in the future where I read books on a favourite theme, which is dinner parties within books, or not necessarily just dinner parties, but scenes focused on food and people gathering, talking, maybe in a more formal environment where they can't express themselves fully. There's social etiquette going on. I just find that really interesting. I'll talk about it more in that video. Anyway, I have quite a few books that would fit that theme, but I also thought I would purchase this one to add to that pile, which is Dinner Party by Sarah Gilmartin. It says on the back, Kate has been trying to do things right. To mark an important anniversary, she plans an exquisite dinner for her family, yet by the end of the night, the drinking games have ended in awkward silence, the guests have fled, and Kate feels herself spinning out of control. Told across decades, this is a story of a family shattered by grief, but tied by bonds too knotty to untangle. It's the story of what happens when the past catches up with the present, and of why, despite everything, we can't help returning home. Last week when I was away, I also read Naomi Booth's short story collection, Animals at Night, and I did really enjoy a lot about that book and thought I would like to try one of her novels. So the novel I decided to go for was Sealed, and this is one that looks at young parenthood, which was a theme that I thought she handled so brilliantly within her short story collection. So it says, heavily pregnant, Alice and her partner Pete are done with the city. Above all, Alice is haunted by the rumours of the skin-sealing epidemic starting to infect the urban population. Surely their new remote mountain house will offer safety, a place to forget the nightmares and start their little family, but the mountains and their people hold a different kind of danger. With their relationship under intolerable pressure, violence erupts and Alice is faced with the unthinkable as she fights to protect her unborn child. I really like how Naomi Booth takes the terror of pregnancy, trying to conceive and having a young child, and places that in a world where that is paralleled on the outside. And I think the way that she delves into that is really eerie and unsettling and just brilliant. So I would like to read that at some point. And then I was sent this book from Fourth Estate, which is coming out next year. I think it's one of their lead titles. This is Wandering Souls by Cecile Pin, and this is about 3 siblings who flee Vietnam after the war there, and they end up in Hong Kong, and then they travel through various refugee camps and end up in London in Thatcher's Britain, and it's about their life navigating all of that. And the publicist Alycia said she thought that I would really enjoy it. So that is one for the 2023 pile. And now this is the bit where I really did get overexcited. So if you've watched my video last week when I was away and I was reading lots of books, I read 11 books when I was away, which definitely surprised me. Normally I take a whole bag of books with me and I end up reading, not as many as I had hoped, but I got to most of the books that I had thrown into a tote bag and taken into the forest, which was very pleasing. And one of those books was Silent House by Nell Pattison, which I loved so much. I am waiting for the second book in that series to arrive, which is called Silent Night, but I have also bought the third book in the series, which is called Silent Suspect. So this is a trilogy of thrillers which is focused on a interpreter called Paige, who is a BSL interpreter, and Nell Pattison herself lost her hearing in her 20s, is also a BSL interpreter, so it's an own voices deaf book, and I just absolutely love both the crime thriller elements in the first book, but also all the disability rep, just brilliant. So I'm really excited to read the second 2 in that trilogy. And then I also thought, I would kind of like to try and read some more crime books. I did this, I think, around this time last year. I was trying to find new crime thriller books that I loved because I'd finished reading all the Nikki French books. Whoa. So I would like to do a repeat of that video that I did last year, trying to find new favourite crime thriller writers. And I have 5 books here, which I may tackle in that video. 2 of these writers are writers that I have read before. One of them a really long time ago, and that one is Lynda la Plante. I read a whole load of her books 15 years ago, and I remember thinking that they were okay, but they were very tropey. They had, you know, a drunk policeman who's going through a divorce and having an affair with a colleague and all of that stuff. So I'm hoping that since then maybe these have evolved out of that somewhat, but this is a new one called Vanished. It says on the back, when an eccentric widow claims she is being stalked by her former lodger, Detective Jack War is the only person who believes her wild claims. Days later, she is found brutally murdered in her home, and then it goes on from there. So I will see if I like this more than the ones of hers that I read a very long time ago. Then I decided to purchase Rachel Edwards' new book. I read her debut novel, Darling, which was a crime thriller set after the 2016 referendum, and it centered a black woman who was dating a white man and her relationship with his daughter and her child. And I liked so much of the build-up, not the resolution at the end. I thought it got a little bit silly, but I would like to give her another go, and this is Lucky. It says, someone is watching Etta. Footsteps in the night, the security light comes on at strange hours. Is it all just her curtain-twitching neighbours who seem to monitor her every move, or is it her little online problem making her paranoid? So those are the 2 writers I've already read before. And then I decided to buy a book by Gillian McAllister, who I know that Emma over at Drinking by My Shelf loves. I believe that this is her favourite Gillian McAllister book, and it's called How to Disappear. And I think it's about a woman called Lauren who's trying to keep her daughter Zara safe. So she decides to disappear, leave her husband because they are being hunted, and they need to make sure that they don't slip up, but they do not send any text or make any calls or like any posts online, because then their old life is going to come crashing down into the new one that they are trying to set up. And then I decided to purchase a Cara Hunter book because on the back of the Nell Pattison book that I loved so much, which was The Silent House, it said it was perfect for fans of Nikki French and Cara Hunter. And obviously I love Nikki French, so I was like, ooh, maybe I will also love Cara Hunter. So this is close to home. It says, someone took Daisy Mason, someone you know. Last night, 8-year-old Daisy Mason disappeared from a family party. No one in the quiet suburban streets saw anything, or at least that's what they're saying. D.I. Adam Fawley is trying to keep an open mind, but he knows that 9 times out of 10, it's someone the victim knew. That means someone is lying and that Daisy's time is running out. Then I saw another recommendation for people who like Nikki French, and it said, if you like Nikki French, you may like T.M. Logan. So this is the final book that I purchased in this crime haul. So this is The Curfew. Andy and Laura are good parents. They tell their son Connor that he can go out with friends to celebrate completing his exams, but he must be home by midnight. When Connor misses his curfew, it sets off a series of events that will change the lives of 5 families forever, because 5 teenagers went into the woods that night, but only 4 of them came out, and telling the truth might mean losing everything. What would you do? I am just really excited to delve into some more crime thrillers. It's the perfect time of year to do it. Definitely going to be tackling these in the coming few months. So those are all the books I have purchased recently. I would love to know if you have read any of these, or if you're excited to read them now that I have talked about them. Let me know any books that you have purchased recently or taken out from the library too. If you are new to my channel and you enjoyed this video and you would like to subscribe, that would be lovely. And if you enjoyed my content and would like to consider supporting me on Patreon, that would be very kind. Link to that is also in the description box down below. I hope you're all doing okay, and I will speak to you very soon. Sending lots of love.